A quiet day inside a small store suddenly turned tense when an armed man walked in and approached the cashier. His movements made it clear he intended to rob the place, and he began reaching for his weapon, but before he could act, the cashier reacted instantly. He pulled out his own firearm and pointed it straight at the man's face, catching him completely off guard. The situation flipped in seconds. Realizing he had lost control, the would-be robber hesitated, then slowly backed away and left the store without saying a word. What could have been a dangerous robbery ended without harm, showing how quickly situations can change when someone is alert and prepared. A frightening situation unfolded on the streets of Colombia when an American tourist found herself targeted by a thief armed with a knife. What started as a routine walk quickly turned into a tense encounter. The thief approached her and suddenly tried to snatch her bag, using the knife to threaten and intimidate her. But instead of freezing, the tourist resisted. She held tightly to her belongings and struggled to keep control, refusing to give in despite the danger. Her resistance drew attention. Within moments, nearby passers-by noticed what was happening and rushed in to help. Together, they intervened and overpowered the thief, stopping the robbery before it could go any further. The attacker was subdued, and the tourist was left shaken but safe. The incident highlights both the risks travelers can face and the impact of quick action, both from victims who stay alert and from bystanders willing to step in and help. On the 13th of March 2013, on a busy morning in the streets of Caracas, two thieves approached a bike delivery rider who was waiting with goods for delivery. They suddenly confronted him and forcefully took the packages from his bike, threatening him while he stepped back in shock. As they prepared to leave, an off-duty police officer nearby noticed the robbery in progress. He moved in quickly and shot at them, hitting one of the thieves. The second suspect fled the scene. Bystanders rushed over for the incident, and the delivery rider was left shaken. A tense scene unfolded inside a small store when an armed robber walked in and approached the cashier with a gun. Without hesitation, he pointed the weapon and handed over a bag, ordering the cashier to fill it with money. For a moment, everything stood still. The threat was clear, and the pressure was intense. But instead of immediately complying, the cashier held his ground. He refused to follow the robber's demands, creating an unexpected pause in the situation. The robber, caught off guard by the resistance, hesitated. With no quick way to get what he wanted and the risk of attention increasing, he began to lose control of the situation. After a few seconds of uncertainty, the robber made a decision. He backed away and left the store empty-handed. The encounter ended without violence, showing how unpredictability can sometimes disrupt criminal plans. Still, situations like this are highly dangerous, and personal safety should always come first. A quiet night ride home quickly turned into a dangerous encounter when a man on his motorbike was suddenly approached by two thieves riding another bike. They pulled up beside him, pointed guns, and forced him to stop. Outnumbered and at risk, the rider complied. One of the thieves got off, ordered him away from his bike, and then climbed on, preparing to ride off with it. But just as the thief was about to speed off, a passerby stepped in. Acting quickly, he rushed the thief and knocked him off the bike, disrupting their escape. The sudden intervention changed everything. The commotion drew attention, and within seconds, more people joined in. Together, they surrounded the thieves and prevented them from fleeing, eventually holding them down until they could be handed over to authorities. What could have ended in a successful robbery instead became a story of quick thinking and collective action, rescuing the day. Three masked thieves suddenly burst into a jewelry store, instantly throwing the place into panic. Customers froze while the staff watched in shock as the situation unfolded. Without hesitation, they began smashing the glass cases with force. The sound of shattering glass filled the store. Within seconds, valuable jewelry rings, necklaces, and bracelets was left exposed. The thieves worked fast, grabbing everything they could and stuffing the items into their bags. Their movements were quick and coordinated, suggesting they had planned the robbery ahead of time. No one dared to intervene as the thieves continued collecting valuables, focused only on escaping before help could arrive. In just a few minutes, the robbery was over. A man and his girlfriend had just finished their outing and returned to his car parked along a quiet roadside. As they settled inside, a man on a bicycle approached quickly from the side of the road. The cyclist stopped beside the window, pulled out a gun, and pointed it directly at him. But in a split second, the situation escalated. As the robber leaned closer, the man made a sudden move, and a struggle broke out through the car window. The driver grabbed the robber's arm while the robber tried to maintain control of the gun. Both of them fought fiercely, drawing attention from nearby pedestrians and passers-by. Within moments, several bystanders rushed toward the scene after noticing the struggle. Some shouted for help while others quickly intervened, helping to overpower the robber and disarm him. The situation turned in seconds as the group worked together to restrain him until he could no longer escape. Eventually, the robber was fully subdued and held down until authorities were alerted. The tension slowly faded as order was restored, leaving the couple shaken but safe, and the incident serving as a reminder of how quickly situations can escalate and how community action can make a difference. It was a quiet evening when a thief broke into a couple's home, expecting an easy robbery. He suddenly appeared in their living room and threatened them, demanding their valuables. The girlfriend was terrified, but the man stayed calm. As the thief got closer, the man fought back. A struggle followed, and after a brief but intense confrontation, he managed to overpower the intruder and knock the weapon away. Realizing he was losing, the thief panicked and ran out of the house. In the end, what was meant to be a robbery turned into a failed attempt. A peaceful walk quickly turned into chaos when a thief suddenly rushed past a couple and snatched the woman's purse. Caught off guard, she shouted in shock as the thief tried to sprint away. Her boyfriend didn't hesitate. Realizing what had happened, he immediately chased after the thief, determined to stop him. A brief struggle followed, and he managed to overpower the thief, beating him up and forcing him to drop the stolen purse. With no way to continue, the thief was left unable to carry out his plan. The boyfriend picked up the purse and returned to his girlfriend, who was still shaken but unharmed, and the two walked away together, grateful that the situation had been resolved quickly and safely. A normal Tuesday at a grocery store quickly turned tense when a robber suddenly entered and pointed a gun at a customer. The customer, shocked and afraid, raised his hands as the robber demanded money. While the robber focused on the customer, he failed to notice the cashier watching closely. Staying calm, the cashier quietly reached beneath the counter and took decisive action. This unexpected response startled the robber and broke his control of the situation. The police were called and the robber arrested. The customer was left shaken but unharmed, thanks to the cashier's quick thinking and courage, which prevented the situation from escalating further. Thieves attempted to break into this woman's car, thinking no one was watching. Fortunately, the attempt was noticed before serious damage was done. The suspects fled, leaving the car unharmed. This incident is a reminder to stay vigilant and protect your belongings. One wrong move, and everything could have been lost. Stay alert. Stay aware. It only takes seconds.
Yeah, motherfucker, get the fuck out of my car! Get the fuck out of here!
On a quiet Monday morning, two thieves walk into a small store with their guns already drawn. The store is quiet, and the owner is standing behind the counter. Before the thieves can say anything or make demands, the store owner quickly realizes what is happening. Acting fast, the owner pulls out his own gun from behind the counter and fires at one of the thieves. The armed thief is immediately stopped and falls to the ground. Shocked by what just happened, the second thief panics and turns around, running out of the store as fast as he can. The store owner stays alert and does not chase after him. He secures the store and makes sure the threat is over. Moments later, the scene is calm again. The owner has protected his business and his life through quick thinking and courage. Robbers entered a jewelry store during business hours, and at first, no one suspected anything unusual. One of them was in a wheelchair. They moved slowly around the store, asking questions and drawing little attention. Within moments, the situation changed. The robbers revealed their intentions and demanded the jewelry while pointing their guns, catching everyone off guard. The presence of the wheelchair made the moment even more shocking, and the staff hesitated, unsure of how to react. The jewelry was handed over, and the two robbers made their way out of the store without resistance. By the time help was called, they were already gone. The robbery was quick, unexpected, and, against all odds, successful. Later, authorities began investigating, reviewing security footage and tracking leads. What seemed like a clever escape was only temporary. The incident served as a reminder that crime can take unexpected forms. A man was driving his car down the road on what seemed like a normal day. Traffic was light, and everything appeared routine. As he continued driving, he noticed that the car in front of him suddenly slowed down and then came to a complete stop in the middle of the road. At first, he assumed it might be a mechanical problem or an unexpected obstruction. Without warning, the men quickly stepped out of the car ahead. Instead of checking their vehicle, they began running directly toward him while holding guns. It immediately became clear that this was not a simple traffic issue but a planned attempt to rob him. Realizing the danger, the man reacted quickly. He pulled out his own legally owned firearm to defend himself. As the two armed men approached, he fired shots in their direction to stop the threat. The sudden resistance caught the attackers off guard. They immediately turned around and ran away. The entire incident happened very quickly, but the driver's swift reaction prevented what could have been a dangerous robbery. Shaken but unharmed, he remained in his car. It was early evening when a man and a woman were walking home from a nearby store. They carried small shopping bags and were chatting as they made their way down the street. Suddenly, a motorbike with two men pulled up directly in front of them. The riders blocked their path and demanded their belongings. The situation escalated quickly, and the couple realized they were being robbed. For a brief moment, everything froze. Then the man reacted. Seeing an opportunity, he lunged toward one of the thieves and tackled him off the motorbike. The two fell to the ground, struggling as the thief tried to break free. The sudden resistance caught the robbers completely off guard. At the same time, nearby bystanders noticed the commotion. People from the street rushed toward the scene. As the second thief attempted to assist his partner, members of the crowd stepped in and restrained him. Within moments, both suspects were overwhelmed and pinned down by the group. The stolen items were recovered, and the couple moved to safety while others held the thieves firmly on the ground. Police were called and soon arrived to take control of the situation. The two thieves were placed under arrest as the crowd slowly dispersed. What began as a frightening encounter ended with unity and quick action from ordinary people who refused to stand by. These two amateurs tried throwing bricks at a jewelry store window and robbing the place, but karma had other plans. Instead of smashing the glass, they ended up taking out each other, which ended up being so embarrassing. Talk about losers in action. A quiet grocery store is open with only a few customers inside. Suddenly, two thieves rush through the door. One of them grabs a customer and uses him as a hostage, holding him close. The frightened customer raises his hands as instructed. The thieves move toward the cashier, keeping their gun pointed at the customer to control everyone in the store. The other customers remain frozen, afraid to move. Tension fills the room as the thieves demand money. Without warning, the cashier reacts. From behind the counter, he pulls out a gun and fires toward the thieves. Startled and panicked, the thieves immediately release the customer and run out of the store, disappearing into the night. The store falls silent. The cashier remains alert. He runs after the thieves to make sure they had gotten away. Police are called, and the danger is over. On a Monday morning in a quiet parking lot, a biker and a man in his car arrived at the same time, unaware of what was about to unfold. Suddenly, two bikes pulled and quickly carrying for armed thieves. The atmosphere changed instantly as the thieves surrounded both men. They ordered the biker and the driver out of their vehicles and began searching them, demanding valuables. The situation was tense and controlled by the attackers, with both victims forced to comply under pressure. But in a split second, the biker saw an opening and reacted. He resisted and engaged one of the thieves, throwing the group into chaos. The carefully controlled robbery quickly broke down as confusion spread among the attackers. Seizing the moment, the man from the car quickly got back inside his vehicle, reached for a firearm, and warned the thieves to back off. A shot was fired into the air, escalating the panic instantly. Startled and frightened, the four thieves abandoned the robbery and ran back to their bikes, speeding away from the scene. As silence returned to the parking lot, the biker and the driver looked at each other in relief. The tension faded, and both men, shaken but safe, shared a brief moment of gratitude before leaving the scene and going home safely. Two men were sitting alone in a quiet restaurant late at night, finishing their meal when two thieves suddenly walked in. The restaurant was almost empty, creating the perfect opportunity for the criminals. Without warning, the thieves approached the table and tried to rob the two men, demanding their belongings. The situation quickly escalated as the men refused to cooperate, and a struggle broke out. Chairs were pushed aside and noise filled the restaurant as both sides fought for control. The unexpected resistance caught the thieves off guard, and the commotion attracted attention inside the building. Realizing that their plan was failing and that they might be caught, the thieves lost confidence. They quickly broke away from the confrontation and ran out of the restaurant, fleeing into the night. The two men remained behind, catching their breath as the staff called for help. The incident ended with the thieves escaping, but the robbery attempt had been successfully stopped through quick reaction and courage. A quiet evening at a neighborhood grocery store was suddenly shattered when two armed thieves stormed in and approached a cashier, unsure of what to do. The cashier raised their hands in fear while the robbers rushed forward, jumped over the counter, and began grabbing money and valuables as quickly as they could. Outside, an off-duty police officer passing by noticed the unusual noise and tension coming from inside the store. Sensing that something was wrong, he approached cautiously and stepped in to investigate. The moment he saw the armed thieves behind the counter, he reacted without hesitation. He drew his weapon and firmly ordered them to stop and raise their hands. Startled and realizing they had been caught, the thieves slowly complied. Maintaining control, the officer moved closer, jumped over the counter, and restrained both suspects before they could attempt anything. Within minutes, backup officers arrived and took the robbers into custody. The store gradually returned to calm. A man wearing a black hoodie quietly walked into a small store. He looked around carefully and quickly noticed that the cashier was nowhere to be seen. Seeing an opportunity, the man moved straight toward the counter. He grabbed the cash register and slammed it onto the ground, breaking it open. Bills and coins scattered across the floor as he hurriedly gathered the money and stuffed it into his pockets. Just as he was about to rush out of the store, something unexpected happened. Police officers suddenly moved in and stopped him before he could escape. The thief tried to react, but it was too late. Within seconds, the officers overpowered him and placed him under arrest. What the thief didn't realize was that the store had already alerted the authorities, and they had been waiting for the right moment to act. The attempted theft ended quickly, and the man's plan to escape with the money was stopped before he could even reach the door. Late one night, a man was driving home with his family when suddenly a car sped in front of them and blocked the road. Before he could react, three masked men jumped out of the vehicle and opened fire on their car. Gunshots echoed through the dark street as the family panicked inside. But the attackers didn't realize one thing: the car was bulletproof. The bullets struck the windows and doors but couldn't penetrate the vehicle. Thinking quickly, the driver slammed the car into reverse, maneuvered around the attacker's car, and then hit the accelerator. Within seconds, they sped away from the scene, leaving the shocked gunmen behind.